listening to Cleveland and Beyond with Andy Billman and Jared Watson, brought to you by Evergreen Podcasts.
We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. She's Holly Wetzel joining us this evening. He's Andy Billman. I'm Jared Watson, and this podcast is brought to you by Come Out. Also, we are brought to you by Waiting for Next Year, original Cleveland sports reporting at waitingfornextyear.com. Joining us later on, special guest Jason Lloyd of The Athletic. Thanks for coming out and hanging out with us. And we're just going to run right into things because it's draft night day 2 here in downtown Cleveland. We are chilling out at Forrest City Brewery, drinking delicious craft beer, small batch, and enjoying ourselves, trying to avoid a little bit of feedback. So bear with us when you hear a little my voice twice. Andy, Ollie, what's going on? What did you guys think of last night?
All right, I'll go first. I think
Andy, are you live over there?
No, I'm fine.
A few feet away from me.
Wetzel, calm the fuck down. I'm just glad you're not driving.
Somebody is
According to what I've been hearing from
today.
reports from people in the car. Look, here's the big story. The Browns have to go to the Final Four in the AFC Championship game and beyond. This pick is great by Newsom. Good kid. Talks well. Really, really smart. Plays well. I was really impressed with him with the in the Big 12 and Big 10 championship game. I think it's a smart pickup. Andrew Berry's very bright. It's a very, very look. The draft. This is the first year in my memory since the move where I'm like, I don't know if I'm excited about Newsom. Very smart pick. Let's roll the fucking balls out. Let's start playing ball. I mean, this team is really ready for big things. There's a lot. The city's very excited about it. It isn't like we're planning for 2024 with our draft pick. Kid Newsom's going to – that's right, Damian. Anderson's back. Anderson John's back. Yeah, Damian.
Yeah, that's breaking news, right? Out of nowhere. Jason actually just let us know.
Right. So, but anyways, the biggest thing for the Browns is how excited the city is. I think the biggest thing I felt this week, and I'll let you guys talk about this. This is the first time I've been around people where it's like I haven't felt COVID. It's been very protective. It's been very smart. There's been masks. The city's been really alive. We were at Harry Buffalo's. There was a lot of people hanging around. I just love seeing this stuff. This was the first non-COVID event I've been to. Really, really, really cool. Really enjoyable.
Yeah. And am I getting feedback, Andy? Are you good? No. Okay. Sorry, guys.
You're good.
We're having some serious stuff.
Wes's doing the first podcast.
This is our first in-person podcast situation, and we're learning as we go. So as Andy and Jared mentioned, we're at Forrest City Brewery, but it's fun to be together and do the show together. I'm happy with the pick, but I wanted to also step back a little bit because I want to talk about just the experience when I went downtown yesterday and how cool it was for the city to come alive again. There's people everywhere. Seeing the Browns gear, it felt like a really great sense of normalcy, even though it could not have been shittier weather. Like, it rained today. I was like, how is there even water left in the sky? Because it all came down yesterday. But it did finally clear up, I should say, by the end of the night. And it was freezing, but it was good. I mean, Cleveland on a national stage on TV looked awesome last night. It just was a really great thing for the city. So I was super excited about that. So I just wanted to kind of get that out of the way.
Yeah, the great thing about that is that was the worst thing of the evening was the rain, right? I mean, outside of that, everything else was great. Shout out to Dive Bar for doing things right and having a wonderful crowd down there as well. That's where Andy and I ended up. Holly went over to the fan zone as we went in there.
I was on site. She was there. She blew us off, but she had bigger plans.
I'm not saying that.
I'm just teasing.
Andy was texting me. I was in Dive Bar, and he's like, I want to try into Dive Bar because the people need to know the truth. All right. And Andy's like, how did you get in? And I said, I'm a girl.
Fuck. Damn it. Stupid.
It's not the only reason. Well, maybe part of the reason. But regardless, I did not think Andy would be waiting out there for 45 minutes. And then we went to go to the draft, and poor Andy and Jared. I met Jared in person for the first time in line at Dive Bar. It was a very exciting thing. So you guys lucked out. I went to the draft. I got to go to the vaccinated fan zone, check it out. It was awesome. And I took a couple really great pictures that got circulated on social media, which was really awesome. So it was fun. I mean, it was just such a great time.
Now, just jumping over from the experience and talking about what we expected during the draft and how we thought things were going to play out. Andy and I have talked about this on numerous occasions where I said it from the beginning. There's two guys that I wanted, the one that I knew we were going to go with, and it worked out that way. Greg Newsome was the pick. We've said it for weeks. We knew it was the right pick. It was the safe pick, if you want to call it that. It was what made sense. You knew that they wanted a secondary. And now we're hearing the rumors of the Browns wanting to possibly move up into this in the second round and maybe get Owusu Koromoa and get that linebacker. But I still don't even know if they're going to want to do that. When has this team in the past 20 years, besides Mingo, when have they even cared about drafting a linebacker early?
Look, I mean, this team is all in, and Jason should chime in. This is the first team in 20 years. This team's all in. They have to win big. You can't just win like, hey, you beat the Steelers, and hey, it was a good week. You took care and split the Ravens. You need to win big. This is big time. No more of this like 6 is nice. 13-4, big wins. And Jared and Jason, let me ask you. I mean, I think this is a team that has expectations now. They have to win, get the AFC Championship game. I think this team's ready for it, but I think that's the real expectations going into this year.
Yeah. You know, before we start recording, we said AFC Championship or bust, and that's a high bar to set, but I think it's valid. I think it's a valid goal to have. They've got what they need. They've got everything that they need. And if you look at the guys who missed last year, Grant Delpit, Greedy Williams, combine them with Jadeveon Clowney, combine them with Greg Newsome, this could be a completely different defense. And I really never went at Joe Woods last year because my point I made all year was, what do you want from the guy? Like, look at who he's using. Look at they don't have anybody. So now we can judge. Now we can judge Joe Woods. You know, it's funny. After they drafted Jedrick in the first round last year, I wrote, okay, Baker, no more excuses. There are no more excuses for Baker Mayfield. Well, now there are no more excuses for Joe Woods. So now what kind of
truer words have never been spoken.
Yeah. So now you're going to find out what kind of scheme he can run. Like, any sort of criticism for him last year was unfair. Full stop. Like, not going to do it. Never once did I ever criticize him because he just didn't have the people. Yep. He's got the players now. Now let's see what they can do.
Here's what I want to see from the Browns. They're going to go into spots this year where they're going to be the target. In past years, they played the Lions. No one cares. Play the Lions, throw the balls out. Is someone
do me a quick favor and try to shield your mic a little bit or kind of aim a little bit away from Holly's mic.
Here, I'll move.
I'll do whatever it takes to make this podcast happen.
Oh, that's money right there. That sounds great. I mean, that sounds good.
I'm such a team player.
Look, we're going to look like fucking weirdos on live, but it's going to sound – it's going to sound fucking money, baby. Trust me.
This beer really helps make me feel
Jason and I are acting like we're sharing like a milkshake with 2 straws right now with this mic.
Oh, you guys are on a date. I didn't want to interrupt your date.
Cute.
Well, he's a gentleman. He did really purchase me.
He did
purchase you? I mean, sorry.
Where the fuck is this going?
You a Russian or mail order bride now?
Hungarian. Thank you very much.
Seriously. Cut this back to Bob. But Jason Lloyd, you cannot think this year, like, if you're playing the Lions on the road, that's a big game. The Lions are going to be like, hey, we want to beat the Browns. Not the old, like, if you're playing the Cardinals are going to be like, we want to beat especially J.J. Watt after the shit he took on whatever else. We want to come in there and win that game. The Browns will have a target. Ironically, I usually get scared of that as a Clevelander. I don't. I think this team's ready. Am I wrong?
No. I think 2 years ago was way too much, way too soon.
Yeah.
And I think they learned a lot from that. Those who are still here learned a lot from it. And, yeah, they're going to have a target 17 times. There's no more – you know, I would think that in the past when you played the Browns, you would install 80, 85, 90% of what you're doing for Sunday. But you might save 10% and spend 10% of your week on the Ravens if you had Baltimore the following week. That's not the case anymore. When you play Cleveland demands 100% of an opponent's attention all week long.
And the difference, in my opinion, is Kevin Stefanski, because he has those guys week in and week out. They do not come in with anything other than that one goal in mind: win the football game.
Yeah, I was so impressed with Kevin last year. I think my favorite tweet of all time might have been the column that I wrote about why he should win the coach of the year. He came out playing on the other side, the Shawshank line, to come in and do what he did with the organization that he did. I would go back even to, I've used this a couple times, go back to week 1 last year, and they got their doors blown off by ball. When I was watching that game at home, I didn't go to Baltimore, and I'm like, they're to the line of scrimmage, and there's 12 seconds left on the sideline isn't on fire. So, it's a low bar to clear, but I'm telling you, you can go back and read what I wrote after week 1. I thought, okay, that was bad. The fake punt was really bad, but this guy's going to be okay. There's something here. And he just built on it and built on it and built on it. It's a professional organization. It's run by adults. These are things we never used to be able to say about the Browns.
Okay. Jason, I have a serious question.
Oh, boy.
All right. Oh, my gosh.
One thing that Andy and I have talked about from last year, so we triumphed throughout this entire year, right, within COVID. Did all these things, all these crazy restrictions, right? The players were basically forced to live and breathe football 24/7. One of my concerns is that the world's getting back to normal, right? The NFL players in general, people are going back out into the world, doing things, whatever. Do you worry at all with that being a factor of just, they were so focused on the season. That's all they were doing is football. I think that was a big reason why they were also successful. Do you worry about that at all?
It's an interesting point.
No, because winning is addictive.
Yep.
And they know how to win, and they know that his style works.
Yep.
So I think that winning is addictive. I'm just going to start repeating myself now. So I think that they'll stay locked in and they'll still keyed in on what it is they need to do, because they saw it work last year. Whereas poor Freddie was such a disaster. I think nobody following him. But Kevin's a leader, so I don't think. I hear what you're saying. I think it's a valid question. I don't think it's going to have an impact.
Here's a thought, Jason. Would you consider Stefanski's regime and them coming in stabilizing the organization? What did I do?
No. It's us spinning you're good.
It's us sharing the milkshake, so it's back. It's back in Jason's world. He's quite frankly drinking all of it. If I have to.
Holly and Jason are going to kiss at some point. We don't want to ruin that moment. We don't want to ruin.
Would you consider Kevin coming in basically saving Baker Mayfield's career?
Yeah, in a sense, sure, because it was a bad path that he was on.
Yeah,
it was a bad track that Baker was on.
Was.
And I don't know if they got that wrong again. Now if you're Baker, you're saying, why would I sign an extension here? To me, the question is still, do the Browns want to give the extension to Baker? Baker should be happy to take it if they give it to him. But had Kevin not worked, if I'm Baker, I'm like, I'm not staying here. I'm getting out of here as soon as I can, which never happens in the NFL, by the way. That never happens. But it would happen there. If you've got a talented quarterback and you can't get it right around him, why would he want to stay? So, yeah, I think it's absolutely.
Pardon me.
So, yeah, let's see what happens down there.
That's
I think
a scary situation for him.
That's why I'm really interested because, I'm really sorry, Browns fans, but Baker is still above average, but he's not elite. And I know people want to fight me every time I say that, but I'm sorry, he's not elite. But you don't have to be there's only so many top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL. There are 3 of them, and they don't win the Super Bowl every year, even though it feels like they do. They don't. So you need a top 3 or top 5 quarterback to get your team to the Super Bowl. And that's where the Browns are with Baker. So, but the fact that he's got the same system 2-0 obviously is huge. The fact that they actually, they were at step 2 and step 3, and now they don't have to go back to step 1. Now they can go to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The same coordinator, the same head coach. I think you're going to see a better Baker this year. I 100% believe Baker will be better this year than he was last year. He better be. And I hope that we see Baker from weeks 9 through 16 this year and not Baker from weeks 1 through 8.
Did the Steelers win on the road in the playoffs help you with Baker winning big?
Yes. Yeah.
I thought that was a
Unmute,
yeah.
Andy.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a big moment. And, it couldn't have started better for the Browns, obviously, with the snap over the head and everything else. You get some momentum going early. You get rolling early. And, it allows you to settle into the game a little bit. But to go out and win that game against that opponent, I think I said at the time, that was an exorcism.
Yes, it was.
25 years
Yes, it was.
of pain and pissed off everything, and they took it out.
Rise your fucking glasses, folks. That was Warriors Cavs good game 7.
That was like in Christmas Story when he beats up the bully, and he just keeps just wailing, and the kid's bleeding and crying, and the Browns are still punching, and they just don't let up. And I felt good for Browns fans watching that for 25 years of what they've had to tolerate. To get that was that was fun to watch.
I want to get one more. So when are we ready to? Because I was down on this and I didn't know how to feel about him. Paul DePodesta, does he get any credit for this? Like, I've been amazed. Like, that guy did a whole big thing. I actually said, that was to your point about structure. I'm like, in 2020, it's like, it's my plan. It's on me. My head's in the chopping block. I'm going to hire this dude, hire Andrew Berry, and we're going to start winning games. And I even told
Oh my God, that's a lot of fucking pressure.
this guy. And I thought he deserves so much credit from this. It's
He deserves a
amazing.
ton of credit. I wrote last year, Paul DePodesta was right about everything, and nobody was paying attention.
True.
But he wanted Sean McDermott, and look how Sean McDermott has worked out.
Yep.
And you can go down the list of what he's gotten right. Carson Wentz, he got destroyed at the time.
Yes, he did.
And maybe Carson pulls it together and it goes on to have a phenomenal career, because I do think he's an incredibly talented quarterback. And I think injuries have had a lot to do with the situation. And that's no fault of his own. But Paul DePodesta, it's really funny when you talk about his job and Paul, he's just a really smart dude.
Yes, he is.
And when it's funny, I'm going to go on a tangent, but I promise I'm going to bring it back around. One of my, if you want to call them isms, one of my isms is just hire really smart people and they're going to figure it out.
Yes.
And that's kind of when we launched The Athletic. My whole thing was we're just going to hire smart people and they're going to figure it out. And that's what we've done. And smart people have a way of being creative and adapting. And the fact that he came from baseball, I think he got crushed for that. And I think it was unfair. Because I mean, obviously, people who know me know that my background was NBA for so many years. But I've talked to NBA people who feel like they could go run an NFL team.
Wow.
Or there's a lot of crossover on that.
Wow.
Because it's not so much. If you're scouting, that's one thing. Obviously, if you're trying to mine for talent,
Right.
If you're running an organization, running an NFL franchise is not totally different. Running a Forbes 500 company, of being the CEO of a company.
Right.
So it's the structures and it's the procedures that you're putting in place, which is what DePodesta's role was in being able to identify talented people is what he was supposed to be doing, but nobody was listening to him.
That's true.
And now they're finally listening to him.
Again, joining us, Jason Lloyd of The Athletic. Jason, and what you're talking about bringing on smart people. It felt like for so long, these guys were winging it. We remember the days of Ray Farmer. We remember, the
sideline text.
You could take the fan off the street knew that what he was saying didn't make any sense.
The towel over the face. The towel.
Oh my God.
The towel over the face. One of the best moments.
That's our fucking president.
Yeah, it's just to come from and then to recognize, there's a formula to this. And even though everything that they're doing when it comes to player personnel evaluations, talent evaluations, skill evaluation, it's always going to be a crapshoot. But at the same time, you can help your odds by having structure, by having a plan, by having a goal, by knowing, what your end game is. And these guys have that. They know what they're building. They're not just like some 3-year-old with Legos putting whatever the fuck together. They're building the Millennium Falcon out of these and following the directions that they have out in front of them.
Yeah, this is the last thing I'm going to say. Then I'm going to give Holly back her microphone.
I already drank all my milkshakes.
You're having a bad first date over there, man.
I'm going to get stuck with the bill.
Typical single dad. You guys get that.
I remember now. To drive home your point, just the fact of, I remember last year at this time thinking, I don't know, man, how are they going to pull this off with no in-person, nothing? They can't get their hands on these guys. Everything is virtual. That is a lot to ask of any coach, let alone a coach in a new system, let alone a rookie head coach in his first head coaching job.
Oh my God, we talked about it so many times.
And Kevin handled it. And what's so funny? I did a story last year. I called some of his best friends from college, and these guys still they're his best friends today. And they're like, the dude you see now is the dude he was at college.
Wow.
When you were,
I believe it.
When I was in college, I was the guy probably close to handcuffs. And,
yeah.
And when
me too. Raise your hand.
The guy said, when things got to that point, Kevin was like, "Okay, I'm out."
Yeah.
He was the guy that he'd like to have fun, but he knew when it was like, "Okay, this is getting stupid."
I agree.
And I didn't have that decision making at 22. So they just said he was always the mature one. He was always the adult in the room, and you could just tell, right? You could just tell. So the Browns got it right. Paul DiPodesta got it right. Yes, I crushed them for firing Freddie. I'm sorry, not Freddie. I'm so sorry. I crushed them for hiring Freddie. Thank you, John. I crushed him for firing John. I thought he did more right than wrong.
Here's the thing.
I did not. By the way, I was more than happy with Dorsey saying goodbye. So just want to get that in.
Yeah,
that was a good moment, Jason. You shared the mic. That was really good. Here's what I come down to though. And Holly, you guys are on a date.
By the way, while you're up.
What do we want?
Yeah, man.
I think we are. Yeah, again. Forrest City Brewery down in Tremont. We're hanging out. I'm throwing money at Jason right now, like you're at a strip club. So you can go and get me a beer. I'll drink an IPA.
He has a really important job. He can afford it, as far as I'm concerned.
Why is our guest paying for our beers? Whatever bring me, I will drink it.
And what the heck?
Gluten-free beers.
Oh, Andy's weird. He wants a gluten-free IPA. Good God.
It's not my fault.
Hey, listen, my wife is gluten-free, so he knows this. I don't know. They're into that. Gluten's just a protein, right? Nothing to mind it.
So you said
No, don't bring me that.
You didn't say any.
I won't drink it, but
Let me ask you guys, since Jason walked out. I am thinking the Browns will win the AFC Championship game, Super Bowl and beyond. And I'm not just bullshitting. I think they're going to Super Bowl. Am I wrong?
no. They have to.
No, Holly. No, Holly.
I mean, to say that, yes, they're for sure going. That's a lot. The schedule gets a lot tougher. All right. I'm trying to
Holly, we're
Look at the schedule game. Sorry, Ken Carmel, we'll steal it.
schedule game all day because that's legit. That is real. It is.
I've got 10 wins and three likely losses.
Look, I am
And that's
going
what I've
to.
gotten.
I want to be proven wrong all the time with the Browns. I love to be proven wrong. I fucking love. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to be also realistic. I'm not going to pretend that they are the savior and they're coming in and it look, last year was so special. I loved it. It was anything more that I could have ever imagined.
But isn't it fair to say that they are in the best position that they have ever
They're in
been?
a great
Right?
position. You just want them to capitalize on it. You want they're going to use it. That's why I asked Jason that question, because I think I do worry about that a little bit. I think, you do get a little bit more comfortable when you start winning. I know it's addictive and I know that's the thing, but you do get comfortable. So if that's a legitimate question of whether or not they're going to continue with that. Baker is all about that swag, about that chip on his shoulder. The Browns last year played so well as the underdog. And I think that next year, there is no underdog situation for the Browns. They are top dog.
No,
So
it's
the pressure is there. And the expectations.
Underdogs gone bye-bye. Bye-bye. Here's the biggest thing about this team. This team, as Jason was saying, you got Mayfield, who I love. Jason's not as much love. It's okay. I love Mayfield. But I love Nick.
I've been addicted to Pro Football Focus numbers that pop up about Baker that just make him look like, they remind you that he's better than what people think he is.
But here's what I'll say. I love Chubb. In a big spot, I think Landry will make big catches. And this defense, it's all about the offense of this team, but this defense, I think, fine. Oh my God, what a good date you got. Thank you.
I trained him well. He went to got beers.
Forrest City Brewery, the beers here are delicious. Beautiful Tremont. They have one of the most beautiful beer gardens. And thank God it is a gorgeous evening here. It's night 2 of draft night. It's turning out to be amazing. The weather finally cleared up. That rain finally went away. The beer garden outside here at Forrest City Brewery is beautiful. They host events here. Finally, as things start to open up, as we all get our vaccines, this place is going to start rolling. They're adding themselves a little bit of a menu, some food options, stuff like that. So if you ever get the chance when you're coming downtown, check out some of these places that are outside of the downtown area. We know that Cleveland is turning into this big foodie scene type of area. Aditi Kinkabwala advertised it the other day on ESPN, but it's also big on the brew scene. And Forrest City Brewery is one of those places, and we're grateful that they let us that they're hosting us this evening for this episode. So I just wanted to throw that back out.
Hey, Jared, speaking of night 2, who do you guys want?
I want Rondell Moore from Purdue, who's I'm a Purdue fan, and he's a fast guy who can take kickoffs back and take punt returns back. It'd be nice to have a Josh Cribbs back. If they're not going to go that way, the quarterback, whoever can sack the quarterback. We need help sacking the quarterback. I come from the Ernie Accorsi world. Sack the quarterback. How do you win? You sack the quarterback. Say it with me. Sack the quarterback. I'm echoing because it's true. I sound like God.
I would love. I know that they might not do it, but I would love if they moved up and they went linebacker and got
whoever can sack.
I really would.
Sack the quarterback, and I'll put
145 tackles in his 2 years as a starter, and like 27 of those for a loss. The 4 forced for fumble and like 5 recoveries. I mean, 5 forced fumble. I mean, the kids. He's just. If they're ever gonna do anything at linebacker, I think this is the right move right now.
And he's still on the board. Here's another one,
right?
too.
Which was amazing that he fell that far.
It is amazing.
We talked about that, I think, about a couple hours ago.
I'll go to 2.0. Whatever we can do to never have that Monday night fucking football disaster where Lamar Jackson ran all over us. That's 1, 2. I don't want that anymore.
Yeah,
don't want that. That was awful.
We got to throw this up from Jim too. And I know, knock on wood, knock on some wood, as long as we avoid the injuries. That was going back to talking about what can get in the way of the Browns, having the successful season that we expect out of them to get to the AFC Championship game and further. They are building depth in that secondary. Injuries, my God. What happened to this team last season with COVID and injury? I mean, it was ridiculous. We were all wondering, are they going to cancel games? Like, it was insane. And they still overcame that adversity. I hope this team, a healthy team, is.
Well,
I get really excited about it.
Well, right. I mean, and you have to think about that, right? And I think so. I asked what you guys kind of wanted who you want them to draft coming up here, because Dale Ryder was on Bull and Fox today, and he was talking a little bit about that Andrew Berry kind of almost tells you what he's going to do without telling you.
Yeah, I love that info. Yeah, I love
what he's going to do, and it's true. I guess he does kind of preface in certain ways of where his mind is at, and if you think about it, then this Newsome pick was pretty much right what he had kind of said, and he kind of explained it as more of like an insurance pick, like looking to the future. It's not reward right away, but it's something that you build on. And with that, I was thinking about what I decided is that I think we're going to draft a wide receiver. So that's why I ended. That's why I ended.
Let me go on this. Jason Lloyd raised his hand too. Are we
unmute, Andy?
Are we going to go with WJ? Okay.
Andy, unmute.
Unmute.
I couldn't.
Try again.
No, you're good now.
I've produced fucking documentaries, directed documentaries That was a producer in the fucking ass, please.
I wish I could put this in your ear, but I can't. I have to do it right
And
now.
I fucking didn't unmute me. I'm good with OBJ. I agree with Chris Russo. He's a home run hitter.
They're not long
You need
term.
a home run hitter.
Two things can be true at once, right? OBJ can be a home run hitter, and Baker Mayfield can have a really hard time finding him in the offense. Two things can be true at once. And there were 2 or 3 times last year where after he was hurt, I thought, like, boy, this is one of those times where just give it to 13 and get out of the way and just let him go make a play. Because that's what he's – at least with the Browns, that's what, like, how are they getting Odell the ball when he's, like, really making impact plays? It's like just pitch it to him and let him do something or run as far as you can, as fast as you can.
The Dallas game.
And, yeah, I mean, that's all that they can figure out with him. I think this is Odell's last year in Cleveland. I don't think he'll be back.
That's a different question.
Yeah, and I agree with Holly's point of that's why you have to go get a receiver tonight at some point. Listen, they have 9 picks. They're not going to make 9 picks.
They got 3 in the second round.
They're going to move around. And whether it's today, whether it's tomorrow, I do think they're going to be aggressive. I kind of actually thought they might move down last night. I had really kind of talked myself into
My
it.
dream of Rondell Moore just went away because Rondell Moore just got drafted.
There you go.
So now he's gone. Because I think that's the one thing they need, Jason, and Holly and Jared. I think they need a special team explosive player.
DPJ might be that guy.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. I think he might be that guy. I think he was a lottery.
I gotta ask you why.
Because he looks like a giraffe sometimes when he's on special teams.
I think he is an explosive playmaker. I do. And I think he was a lottery ticket last year.
Oh, I love him as a wide receiver.
No, we agree.
Yeah.
That was the smartest 7th-round pick. I never said that. I said, this kid's good.
Right.
He's a good player.
Yeah, he's a player. And I mean, listen, I've said a lot of stupid things in my life. Just add this to the list, 12 months from now. But I do. I think that he might be that guy because I agree. They do need somebody on special teams who can make a play. And we'll see. But the point I was going to make, and I was listening to what you were saying earlier about Barry, and I think it's totally true. When you are a competent NFL franchise, you aren't drafting for need. You're drafting for we're going to need to replace this guy in 2 years, so we better get him now.
Yeah.
Who was talking about Jordan Elliott a year ago? Nobody. But
That's a great.
But Larry Ogunjobi is gone, and Sheldon Richardson is gone, and all of a sudden Jordan Elliott's going to have a role on this team. And he was a 3rd-round pick that I promise you nobody has talked about.
Yep.
So, and that's where
that's a great point.
The Browns are a competent, functioning NFL team now, and this is what competent, functioning NFL teams do: is they build for depth in the 2nd and 3rd rounds, and they get guys that aren't going to play right now, but they're going to practice during the week, and you're going to see them in 2022 and 2023 when some of these other guys are no longer here.
Yeah, grabbing onto that was probably one of the more thoughtful, poignant things that have filtered through over the past couple of days was just that idea that you can read between the lines with Andrew Barry and look a little bit deeper, and it's not cryptic, but it's think a little bit.
Yeah, he processes things. There's another level of that he's putting into this clearly, right? By the way, he had his kid on draft day, which is the greatest thing ever, and I just felt like.
Yeah.
Can I have a similar?
Please.
Can I tell you? So
Did you have a baby on draft day?
I look
Tell
like
us.
I'm pregnant now, but no. So 2010.
Beer at 5 pounds.
2010, I had just started the Akron Beacon Journal covering the Cavs. Like literally, I was on the job like a week, and they are wheeling my wife into surgery for a C-section, and I get a text that Danny Ferry is resigned. Wow. Or not resigned, his contract expired, he walked off, and they went to separate ways. So as they're wheeling her into the room, I'm like scrambling, texting people, trying to set up if someone can cover this press conference or not. And my wife is screaming, "You're not really doing this, are you? You're not really working," as they're wheeling me in to cut my body open and give you a child. And I was like, you know what? If you can just hang on 1 minute, I will be right with you. I promise. So
That is a good working man.
So I told Danny that story a couple years later when he was in San Antonio, and Danny cracked up. He goes, "Did you name him asshole for me?" He's like,
like that.
yeah. He's like, "Sorry about that."
Holy shit.
So in this industry, shit happens.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought it was a really good omen, by the way. I mean, but I just look. There's still a lot for the Browns to prove at the end of the day, right? We had one really great season, and that's super exciting. And I just followed that. I rode that wave.
Here's the thing, Holly. You're right, but here's where I'm saying, in my studies of sports, if I were a neutral fan, I would honestly come in saying, team is ready for prime time. They almost beat the Chiefs when the coach was coming off COVID. Their team really didn't play well. I remember my son, who doesn't watch a lot of football times, he plays football, and he goes, I can't believe the game. They had a chance to win that game in Arrowhead. They did. They got a first down. They stopped Chad Henne. They get the ball back. The Browns aren't that far away, but here's where I know. The typical Cleveland thing to do is like, hold on, take a breath. I think we all need to get on this ride of like, let's go as fast as we can. It's going to be a lot of fun and enjoy it. We don't have many teams like this. It reminds me of 15, 16, 17 Cavs. Everybody should chime in. 90s Indians. Right. This is it. We are that team. Swing the ball, go for big, and we got the team. Thank fucking God.
It's like an adjusted version of Paul Dolan's "Enjoy them while he's here." It's enjoy them while they're good.
Well,
let's focus in. My point is it time to get on board and be like, let's win big?
I don't think anyone's arguing the fact that we need to get on board. I am on fucking board. I'm not on board. I'm not like waiting in the wings here.
That's good.
Yeah.
Andy, are you on board?
No,
I mean, kind of he was.
No.
He was.
No.
Maybe he's still better.
I am the mayor of Cleveland. I'm here to dust off. I worked for this band for 16 years. I know it's like it's bullshit, whatever. This is real. The Browns are really fucking good.
It's
really
arguing
good.
or denying that this situation with the Browns is real. It absolutely is. I'm trying to be realistic about the fact because as soon as last year they played, like we just talked about, they played as the underdog. They played as there was no real expectation at the end of the day for the Browns.
No, because we knew that defense was what it was.
And in the first half of the season, Baker
you give Chad Henne that first down.
At most, he was.
Chad Henne on 3rd and 17 was off.
That was it. That was the season's problem in a nutshell.
Right there. For everybody talks about the touchback and everything else.
Andy, unmute your microphone.
I actually did.
Andy's? Yeah.
Nope, still muted.
I'm fucking done with this.
Andy, you have headphones on too.
Look, it's been a long week, motherfucker. I interviewed Chris
Jason, are you looking
Russo.
for a job? Would you like to be part of the?
I interviewed Chris. I did a 3-hour interview with Marty Appel, who's a Yankees historian. Chris Russo for hours. I'm tired. It's been a long week. I want to transition. I'm glad I got
Wait, I need to finish my point.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
That was not nice.
Yeah, we're still talking about whether Holly's recorded.
I apologize. I was looking at my Bumble account. I'm sorry. I did not pay attention.
Andy has moved on from Tinder during the week to Bumble, but then he goes back.
I can't confirm that. I might be still on Tinder.
My God,
it's a different show. All right,
Holly.
Lloyd.
So
Holly, is
my
this
point is, Andy was, I felt maybe insinuating to a certain extent that maybe I wasn't like.
Is your
like,
brother saying get Andy a White Claw?
Oh yeah, because my brother did text me that you were on Instagram Live with.
Hey Jimmy, I like White Claw. I don't give a fuck if it's not cool. My dad drank Zima. I like White Claw. That's it. Bye. I don't care. Pick us up.
You should.
I know the soft drink. I really don't care.
Yeah, I don't want anyone to ever admit they had Bailey's at the bar, but Andy did. So there's that.
What's wrong with Bailey's? Nice.
Okay. Where's your grandpa sweater?
Wetzel's the best. I love Wetzel. I love Wetzel.
I got to give you a little shit back. You know?
No, she's bad. I was mean to text. I was mean to text last night.
You know the Bailey's in a shoe video? No.
What?
Old YouTube. Long time ago.
Brown just moved up.
Brown just moved up.
And that's why.
So let's talk about the draft pick.
I thought they were going to do.
Jason Lloyd is here. I got 3 questions for you on the
Recording
Indians.
live.
Hold on.
I'm just recording after you tweeted.
What do you think they're doing when they're
I'm off
moving
the
up?
clock.
So what's the situation?
Indians, any chance to make the playoffs?
Indians any chance to make the playoffs?
Oh, you're really switching gears.
Slim.
Yeah, I say 0.
Slim.
I love the Indians. I say 0. Are we excited about the Indians because they still have young pitching?
Oh, I'm all in on the Indians. I am. I've called this sort of a transition year. I think they're going to recalibrate a little bit, but the talent is there, and they've got some bats coming. They've really struggled to develop bats in their system. Obviously, that's kind of why they're in the position that they are. But I think you're going to Freeman next year. You're going to see George Valera probably a year or two after that. Yeah. They've got about 19 at last count shortstops, so they're going to play.
Yeah, and right now they're all platooning and like outfield.
No, they legit. I love what they're doing on the offensive side because they have so many shortstops because like that's the position, right? If you can play short, you can play anywhere on the field. Yeah. Allegedly, they're trying to prove it with Ahmad Rosario putting him in center field.
I'll just say this, not to interrupt Jason, but I will. Anybody will talk to, whether you're talking to Chris Russo, whether you're talking to Tom Bernaldi,
Andy on the microphone.
This is fucking awful. I hate this. I'm going to kill myself in some earnest.
I'm going to staple your finger to the mute button.
Clase, Karinchak. This is the nastiest bullpen, maybe in baseball. I know in the AL.
Yeah.
Outside the Yankees, I'll go one more. This pitching staff's there. Outside, you got to grow out Logan Allen, and you got the Tristan McKenzie. This is a pitching staff that can win big.
Oh, no question.
Big.
I still think Cal Quantrill is the answer in the rotation.
I agree.
Henches is getting the start right now because he's looked out. I think Henches is going to develop into more of that Andrew Miller role that we saw a couple of years ago, and I would expect Quantrill to be. But I've been saying, since they made the trade last year, I said, well, Carrasco's gone because Quantrill's going to replace him in the rotation this year, and I was half right. But Quantrill had a lousy spring and couldn't command, and so now he's stuck in the bullpen. But no, the pitching is.
So
But you know what? I am concerned a little bit about the fact that if you trade Kluber, you trade Bauer, and you trade Carrasco, and you trade Clevenger, it's unfair to the organization, and it's unfair to the pitchers coming up to think, well, it's the Indians, and they can just sprinkle some magic pitching dust, and they'll turn out 5 more just like them. I don't think that's realistic. I don't think it's fair.
It puts a lot of pressure on Bieber.
Oh, it does.
To lead that pitching staff, but he's taking it. And here's what I want to bring up too before I jump back into the bats, because you made a comment that I'm going to talk about. They released Oliver Perez today.
Yep.
Why? That was just strange.
Why? Because you want the truth. Why? Because of the new 3-batter rule. That's why.
Yeah.
Because Tito couldn't get him in find places to get him in games because Ollie has to face 3 batters at a time. And most lineups aren't stacked with 3 lefties, and Tito clearly doesn't trust him against righties. So, Ollie Perez, if you want to talk about that 3-batter rule killing careers, he's a prime example because I don't think anybody. I don't know. I shouldn't. Maybe another team takes a shot at
The Paul Osemacher days of getting left-handers out is not there. And he's that Paul Osemacher role. He's going to get out lefties on lefties, and you trust him because he's been in big spots, and he looks relaxed.
To me, it just felt like you're losing that leadership, you're losing that experience, and I don't know how much it's actually going to help you down the road because the pitching staff is as good as it is. That it just felt like I don't know that they needed to do that right now. Now, jumping back over to the bats, you're talking about I do have bats coming and developing them. Okay.
By the way, there's some dude who got drafted by the
right
Browns
now.
dancing on stage right now.
There's a couple of bats right now that I don't understand why aren't in the lineup. I don't know why, and I'm sorry, Jake Bowers, but what are we doing? Where's Daniel Johnson? Where's Bobby Bradley? And why is, to me, this feels like more of a controlling the money issue than it does feel like, that we can win now.
Well, we're past the money issue because we're past although Johnson did get a few days up last year, but I think that I have to look at, I don't know. We're really close on the line of if we're talking about manipulating the contracts and arbitration, all that, we should be past that. The Jake Bowers thing, I don't think Bobby Bradley's the answer. I hear what you're saying. Bowers is awful. two things on that. One, Bradley strikes too much, even in the minor leagues. I think Josh Naylor is probably, as the roster stands now, I think Naylor's probably your in the future. And
he's got some Manny Ramirez in him.
Naylor?
Yeah.
Boy, that's a huge compliment. That's a
I'm talking about.
Oh, you mean? Oh, I thought you meant.
I'm talking about being a good ball.
Yeah, running through the stop sign.
Mistake.
Yeah.
A Buckner moment. But here's the thing about what Lloyd's saying that I heard about from Terry Pluto. I think Naylor's your first baseman. I agree with him. That's basically what he's
absolutely. And the one thing that the Indians I think are nervous about with Bowers, he looks awful right now. I think we can all agree on that.
Yes.
He's actually had a couple strung together some decent at bats in the last few days that I've seen. Although obviously with the Browns going on, I haven't watched the last couple games, but. The Indians gave up on a 25-year-old slick fielding corner infielder a couple years ago, and he's now the starting third baseman on the Yankees, and he's haunting the Indians for that decision. So,
Breaking news.
what do you got? We can come back to this.
No,
Browns
go ahead,
moved up,
Rick.
right? And they're taking Koromora
Told you.
after trading up. Did you guys hear that? Sorry. So we're up.
I've been right on both of these picks.
By the way, the fans are going crazy. Crazy. Great job. Wow. Look at even the Browns front office exploding. Wow.
That's awesome.
So linebacker for the day, Jeremiah
Star. Absolute star. Absolute star. Absolute star. I watched him, a big Notre Dame fan. Kid can play, makes big tackles in big spots. True winner. Here's the thing, he's a leader. And again, this goes, I hate saying it, but I like where it's going. Let's just be honest. Northwestern, Notre Dame, these are bright kids. These are kids who are team guys first. It means a lot in these spots.
That's a great point, Andy.
It means a lot. It means they are drafting kids who are team first guys, and I like that. I think it's Antano Callaway, great guy, couldn't stay on the field, couldn't keep his clean. I want guys like that, like this kid for Notre Dame, hustles, plays hard, played against Georgia, played against the big boys, Clemson, made marks in these games. Good player.
Man,
good player.
So now here the rest of the day and the rest of this draft is whatever the fuck you want. You want to go wide receiver. Do what Holland's asking for. Grab wide receivers. Well, I didn't see the game up to actually move up. So I don't know that left.
Good point. I didn't see either actually.
You're going to be surprised because I'm going to nerd out here for a second because this is the stuff that I love to look at.
Shout out to Jason Lloyd from The Athletic for joining us this evening.
Never mind.
I said deleted.
It said deleted. The one that I saw was that they got to pick back. Like they moved up. And they gave up 89 and they dropped down to the hundreds, but they were going to have the same number of picks, but that was deleted. So I don't know if
they pulled some Matthew movie shit.
So, but I'm going to plug us for a second because Dane Brugler, I think, is sensational and does an unbelievable job with his draft preview. And he had him as the 15th rated player on his board, and the Browns just got him in the second round. And Dane knows the stuff, man. Like Dane's been on the Newsome pick for
is an absolute player.
Yeah.
Absolute player.
This is, I kind of thought they might go receiver in the second round. I'm pleasantly surprised. I mean, keep adding to the defense. But I think you're right. Now I think they probably will pick up a receiver here in the next little bit. Okay, here we go. Holly's got it. Oh, so it was right. 50 and 89 for 52 and 113. So they keep the same number of picks. They give up 89 to move up 7 spots, and then they drop 24 spots on the back end. So they still have that capital to continue to move around the board, whether it be tonight or tomorrow.
Because again, it doesn't matter what you're doing on the back end. You're looking for value on the back end, and you can focus on special teams and do some of those things that we're talking about. Because really, my only fear here for this team is special teams. That's it. I mean, that's the one weakness now.
Does anybody feel good at big spot?
Andy, unmute your microphone.
Fucking bullshit. Does anybody feel good in a big spot with the field? Jason Lloyd, don't laugh. Someday I'll direct you in a film. You should not laugh as director. Just a tip. Jason's a great guy, by the way. Very funny. Looks handsome. Thinks he's fat. He's
He
not fat.
does, and he's wearing the sticker.
He's got the hair.
I love his hoodie too.
He's got like my friend Gabe's hair.
He's got white on whites like me tonight.
Hey,
That's good.
you met Gabe yesterday. He's got Gabe hair. Yeah, he's got Gabe hair. He's got Gabe hair. Anyways, anybody excited about Cody Parkey making a big field goal in a big spot?
45-yarder to win. Holly unmute his microphone.
We're having connection issues.
Oh, that's
Oh,
okay. Yeah,
no.
you are. Holly is a little frozen there. Yeah, she's going to have to rejoin. Oh, yeah, that'll give you – oh, that great. Well, then, hey, listen, here's what we're going to do because Andy just dropped off too. We lost a lot of connection here, and now I'm by myself. Go ahead, do whatever you got to do. I'll sit here and talk to everyone right now, even though I have to pee. I was going to give Jason my seat and share my milkshake with Jason. Yeah, I mean, we've been doing it for 50 minutes. Listen, here's the deal. So if you're just joining us, I lost everybody. We lost everybody. Holly is trying to get back on. Holly Wetzel's coming back on. Andy Billman's coming back on. Jason Lloyd is taking a quick break. Andy just bellowed from the bowels of his stomach. Knock, knock. Come on in.
Here.
2 more minutes. Okay. Yeah. We didn't. I know what we're going to close out on, but I don't want you to start until I get back from the restroom.
I'm excited about the Browns draft. I think the Indians are the starting pitching to go in the playoffs.
No, that's not what we're ending on. We have one
I
last.
know where
I know what we're going to end on, and I'm not going to worry about going to the bathroom. Jason's on his way back. Fuck this feedback. Jason.
We got one more question.
Andy is really upset with Kevin Love.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, we need to.
And this is, we're going to end the evening with this. Thank you again, Forrest City
I
Brewery.
defend him. I love him. I'm a mental health guy. But I don't think that was good.
We really want to know what's going on with him. He has not seemed interested in basketball, quite frankly, this entire season, from my point of view, but especially being on the Cavaliers.
Yeah, obviously, again, if people know my background, I cover the championship team. I've known Kevin for a number of years. I have a very good relationship with Kevin. And I was really disappointed in the other night. Obviously, he cost the team on the court. He cost him points and he cost him momentum.
Yes, he did.
Did he cost him the game? I think that's probably a bit of an overreaction. It was the third quarter and it was a 9-point game. He did not cost him the game, but he cost him momentum and he cost him a basket and he let his frustrations.
But question, don't you think though costing them the momentum would cost them the game? Because they were within, they could have come back. I mean, don't you think that changed the momentum enough to cost them the game?
No, because basketball is such a game of runs. You got a full quarter left and it was still a 9-point game. So that's plenty of time to make that back. The Cavs lost that game because they're not very good. That's why they lost the game. They didn't lose the game because Kevin Love threw a tantrum. They lost the game because they're not a very talented basketball team. No, but listen, I've said it for years. I wrote it the other day. It's time to just end this. It's time to part ways. Kevin meant too much to that championship team. And this is where I think Kevin is torn. Kevin legitimately, absolutely, positively loves Cleveland. He won a championship here. I had this conversation with Channing Frye. Channing played all over the country. He played in Phoenix. He played in New York. He played, he played everywhere. But Cleveland is where he won a championship. And for a brief amount of time as Channing and RJ and some of these other guys were here, there is a real deep connection between those players from that team and this city. And so for that reason, I've talked to Kevin multiple times about this. Kevin's like, I will always love Cleveland. I will always come back. I want to come back. RJ comes back for the Nets broadcast and he gets a standing ovation. They roar when they show him on the Jumbotron. I absolutely believe Kevin's jersey will be hanging in the rafters one day. I think LeBron, Kevin, and Kyrie, all three should have their jerseys retired. And So that makes it really difficult. But at the same time, like, he's absolutely miserable here. He wants to play for a contender. He signed the big contract. What was he supposed to do? They put $120 million in front of him. What would you do? Of course you'd sign it. And so it puts everybody in a bad spot. I have no idea if Kevin's willing to give back some of the money. But if he's willing to give back, I mean, so you go off history, right? With this stuff, you go off precedent. And the precedent here is Andre Drummond had $75 million left on his deal with the Pistons. Same agent as Kevin, which is where this is significant.
Yep.
And Andre gave back $13 million to go to walk away. I'm sorry, Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin had the Pistons. Blake had $75 million left on his deal.
Right.
And gave $13 million back to go away. And again, same agent, Jeff Schwartz, as Kevin. So if Kevin's willing to give up 10 to 15 million of the 60 million that he's got coming to him over the next 2 years, for what he means to this city, for what he has meant to this franchise, for the role that he has played, let's just part on amicable terms.
Yes, exactly.
Really ugly.
Exactly.
I've got 3 last points. One is this is just another sad exit for another important individual from that 2016 run. Because he's not the only one that has had a sad exit. His is just taking longer.
Jared was really ugly.
I love that. Number 2, we can put a lot of the blame for everything that's going on with this organization on Kobe Altman, and I will stand by that until the day I die. And number 3, Kevin Love, as much as he wanted to stay here and knew the situation he was walking into, I've never seen him as a leader, and he's just not. I don't believe Kevin Love is that much of a leader.
Ever though? Because you said ever.
I mean, in his time in Cleveland, you're talking about
Even in 2016. Because look, I am not anymore. I've been saying all season. I'm like,
Wetzel's been very, very tough.
Where is he? Like his presence is he's throwing tantrums on the bench.
He's done this multiple times.
He has not been that leader that I think that they've tried to look up to even off the floor when he's been injured.
right. But that's
what
my
I'm saying.
point.
But before that though,
But he's never had to be a leader. He's never been put in that position. You're just seeing that he doesn't have that quality.
Do you think in 2016 he wasn't a leader? Because
That's
the only year I'd give him.
He didn't have to be.
I think LeBron was
He
everything.
didn't have to be a leader.
Oh, I think he did.
I'll say this about Kevin Love.
He was a very important piece of the puzzle, but he never had to lead.
I'll say this about 2016, and everybody should weigh in. Richard Jefferson's Game 3 changed everything. So it allowed Kevin Love to take a breath. He was hurt. He was not in those games. When Richard Jefferson played that well, I study your sports. I think what Richard Jefferson did was such a huge moment. It settled down the team and allowed him to get back in that series naturally. He played fantastic in Game 7. He really did.
Here's my great game time. I think we have put a lot more. At least I have, and I think that I've felt it from others. We've had more expectations out of Kevin that maybe we shouldn't have had.
He's a very talented player. He should have an
The last one
expectation.
left of that team, of the super team, right? He was the last one left that stayed. So of course, a lot of that pressure goes on. You want to say something? Look, Jason's chomping at the bit.
No, I have to be careful. Here's what I'll say. When he signed that contract after LeBron left, and by the way, the leaders of the 2016 team were LeBron, and LeBron.
Right.
They set the flight schedules around LeBron. They set the practice schedules around LeBron. They went to wine country because LeBron wanted to go to Napa. So we just stopped playing basketball for 3 days, and we went to. I was there. Like
We fucking won the championship. Who fucking
whatever.
cares?
How many bottles do you have in the
Whatever the
basement
fuck
just
you
sitting in
want.
your wine cellar?
Well, not as many as we drank during those couple of days in Napa. But
Advil liquid gel's helping.
so here's when Kevin signed that second contract, I was surprised. I was really surprised. And I told him, you realize you are back in Minnesota now. And he said, no. And remember how much he hated being in Minnesota and he didn't want to be in Minnesota. And I said, you're back in Minnesota now. And he like said, no, I don't think that's true. Guess what? It was Minnesota.
Yes,
and
it was.
it's still Minnesota.
But that's the thing is, I think he's wallowing and thinking more about himself and looking inward. And I think that he had a lot that he could have given to a lot of these younger players that obviously you've got more of a know than I do. How much of that is he actually? His relationship with some of those guys wasn't always that great.
Well, which guys? Are you talking
LeBron?
championship years?
Yeah, LeBron.
I
right?
think I have
Well,
to
even
tell you-
now, even the younger guys.
I think Kevin and the younger guys have a really good relationship. I really do.
Okay.
I think LeBron was really unfair to him, and I've written that. LeBron, it's a really strange dynamic because LeBron and Kevin had no relationship, and till Team USA, and LeBron was pumping Kevin at Team USA and saying like, "You're going to be the reason we win gold. I love your game." And Kevin didn't know LeBron at all. And he was like, is this guy for real or is he yanking my chain? Like, what's going on here? And then they saw each other again, I think at Michael's 50th birthday party, but I'm not 100%. I might be making that up. But there was a social engagement where they saw each other again. And LeBron was on Kevin like, hey, man, how you doing? Love your game, blah, blah, blah. And then the day LeBron came back, I talked to Kevin about this. Kevin was driving to work out in L.A., and LeBron called him after Lee Jenkins' story in SI dropped and all that. LeBron called Kevin, and Kevin pulled off on the side of the road, and LeBron said, I want you with me in Cleveland. And Kevin's like, okay, I'm in. And then he got here, and LeBron treated him like shit. Like he really did. And Kevin really had a hard time with that. And that was a huge adjustment for him.
And Kevin rumor is that Kevin wanted to trade out, right? During that year?
No.
Or the year before. Maybe it was not 15, maybe it was 15.
No, Kevin never wanted traded.
I heard that. Inside sources, Jason.
Wait, you're telling me that even throughout all this, Kevin has not wanted traded?
Well, now I think he does.
Yeah, I'm talking about, I think it was 2015. I heard that he wanted traded out to Boston.
Well, here's what
a real sports town, according to Kyrie. Go ahead.
Well, here's
When the world's flat, and
so
Kyrie was not my source.
his last year here, and I honestly I don't know. You might be right. I can't speak to 15 because I never had that conversation with him.
You lost full signal.
I'm good.
There we go. We're back. All right, we're back. Go ahead.
So his last year here, if you remember, they had the worst team meeting in the history of team meetings, where it was basically everybody gang up on Kevin. And this was after he had the panic attack in Oklahoma City, and against Oklahoma City, and he left the game. He went home during the game, and it was awful. Like it was the worst team meeting in the history of team meetings. And Ty Lue was furious that guys like Isaiah Thomas, who just showed up, and Dwayne Wade, who just showed up, were coming at Kevin. And Ty was like, Kevin, you need to stick up for yourself and tell him, then you don't want me here, then trade me. And I asked Kevin, why don't you just ask for a trade? Just go. Like if it's this horrible, just go. And Kevin said, no, I want to be here because I value winning so much, and I want to be on a winner, and you just don't know what's on the other side. If you ask for a trade, you don't know where you're going to wind up, and you don't know what's on the other side, and I want to win. And so for that reason, I know for sure, even when the boat was falling apart, he did not want to jump off. But the early years was struggle. It was tough. And he's told me, like, all he wanted was like a hand around the neck and like hey buddy, it's okay, because he obviously had to take on the biggest change in his role, and we're going back a ways now. But when he was the third wheel, and he knew he was going to be the third wheel, but that was a huge adjustment for the guy to make, and he tried to make it the best that he could, and he feels like he didn't get a whole lot of support from LeBron or Vlad or anyone else who was here at the time.
Right.
Yeah, it just is a reminder that there's so much nuance to all of this.
Yes.
It's so nuanced.
It's never as simple as you think it is.
I got a question.
I agree.
Go for Jason too.
So the Browns are supposed to.
Hang on. First of all, you can't talk because you're still muted, and Holly's asking a question.
We're never doing this. We're going to never do this again. So,
Andy, I got one last question for Jason for the Cavs.
right.
One last question.
Good, because I
It
really
seems as though with all this Kevin Love talk that he seems very checked out. He has seemed very checked out this entire season. Even before, I felt like his focus and his drive and his concentration has been elsewhere, like his mental health focus and all of that.
With his fiance, spending a lot of time in New York.
Right. Is retirement that crazy to think that could be in his near future?
I don't think so. Too much money.
Yeah, he's got $60 million coming to him. He's not retiring. I don't think he's checked out. I think like the injuries are legit. Now, did the Cavs have him milk a little bit of that because they want to lose some games? I don't know. The Cavs keep saying that they're trying to play for this play-in. They're trying to compete for this play-in, which is the most idiotic, insane, stupid thing I've ever heard in my life. This is not a good team. This is not a playoff team. This is not a team that should be worrying about the playoffs. But the injuries are legit, and I just think
yes, I agree.
I just think Kevin is just really frustrated.
I agree.
He's frustrated with the injuries. He's frustrated with the situation that's surrounding the team. He wants to play. He wants to compete. He absolutely loves the game of basketball still. He wants to compete at a high level. He wants to play for a team that is competing, that is winning games every night. He said the other night he's still not right. His body's not right. He's still trying to play his way back.
Really? Well, before even the inbound pass on what everyone can't stand now, we saw the video of the knee injury, the push in the back, the ref missing the call.
That's really important, I guess, to clarify here. He was frustrated the other night. He can't do what he did. But, last year he was really frustrated with Beeline. He was frustrated with Colin. All of that came out, and we saw that. He said, that was bad. I shouldn't do that. When he's smacking the bench, when he's yelling at Colin, when he's throwing his hands in the air on the floor. The other night, though, he was just frustrated. He wasn't frustrated at his teammates or at JB. He was just frustrated in general because he got knocked down a couple plays earlier. He busted up his knee a little bit. He got pushed in the back by a guy on like a 10-day contract, and he's Kevin Love making $120 million a year, and he didn't get a call on a 10-day guy. And he glared at Courtney Kirkland, the official, because he couldn't get that call. And the other official threw the ball, and he slapped at it. He didn't even think it was a live ball. That doesn't excuse what he did. I'm just trying to provide context that it wasn't the same. It wasn't like he was frustrated with his team and his players in that moment. He was just, like I said, I think he's in a bad spot right now with all of the injuries, with all of the losing. I just think he's frustrated.
I'll end on this. Does anybody, like the Indians, it's easy to understand. You talk to anybody, they need hitting. First base, outfield need more hitting. The Cavs are the most complicated team in sports.
They need everything. Or they need somebody to come in and
It's so shitty. And yet you look at this team, it's like, okay, I like Jared Allen. Okay, I like Garland. Okay, I like certain parts. But I agree. We can debate about Sexton, but okay, I like his energy. But this team is so bad, and it doesn't get better, and it's not. I think they're a complicated team.
It's going to remain complicated,
I don't think it's easy,
especially because of the issues with ownership and Dan Gilbert. And I was glad to see him on CBS Sunday Morning about a month or so ago, and all the philanthropy that they're still working on through everything in Detroit and all of the give back. But you can still tell that Dan Gilbert is not where he wants to be. And that's so frustrating. And I'm wondering how much that trickles down. Kobe Altman has the business team there.
He's probably not going to anymore. This is the beginning of the end, right? For Dan Gilbert and it's a major involvement.
And that's my point is this is going to take a long time. I don't think this is going to be 4 or 5 years.
No, I mean, look, LeBron is a once in a lifetime opportunity, right? That's just not going to happen. It just isn't. So the rebuild is going to be forever. I mean, and until we get lucky again and we build on the draft and we get a good.
Real fast, who's your Cavs favorite player right now? Right now, you. Mm-hmm. Holly Watson, who's your Cavs favorite player?
Mm-hmm.
What's your Cavs favorite player?
I guess Colin Sexton. God damn.
Jason Lloyd.
I don't do that.
Good answer.
No, I damn well. I box score watch the entire season. I just
my favorite player right now is Isaiah Hartenstein. I like him a lot. I like that he can pass. I like that he can move. And by the way, it's not going to bring in championships. I like that he.
And nobody wants to sit here and talk about.
I'm going to watch Hartenstein. I'm excited about his passing. Sorry, I'm a Purdue guy who loves basketball.
So, I mean, two things I guess I'll close on with the Cavs. Number one, you talk about LeBron. LeBron was the plan for 15 years. For 15 years, the Cavs' plan was LeBron. It was they traded their top 3 or 4 leading scorers to be bad enough to get in position.
They won a championship.
Right. But my point is, they tanked so bad They basically tore the studs out of the house.
Yeah, I agree.
In order to be in a position to draft them, and it worked. Like they won the lottery, they drafted LeBron, and then it was okay. Now we have to like rebuild this entire organization around him, and they ran out of time, and he left. And then the plan was we have to get LeBron back.
Yeah,
spent 4 years trying to get LeBron back, and I wrote a book about it, The Blueprint. You can find it. No, I'm kidding.
It's a very good book.
You know you're kidding. Promote the fuck out of that.
No. So nobody bought it. It's too late now. So for seven,
Never too late. Amazon.
You know, I know a guy can make documentaries.
But we have to be bad enough to be in position to draft LeBron. Okay, we have him. Now we have to build a franchise around him. Oh no, we ran out of time. We lost.
I agree.
Now we have 4 years to get him back. Oh my God, he came back. Now we have to win. That's over. LeBron's not coming back to save you. You need a new plan. And I have a hard time right now figuring out what's the plan.
I agree.
This is never before in history has the league been dominated by athletic playmaking wings as it is today. You have to have switchy type of wings who can dribble, pass, shoot, who can do some combination of things. The Cavs are guard heavy and center heavy. Like
bingo.
That's the problem with the team. The most position on the floor, they don't have anyone right now. Maybe Okoro becomes that in time, but Jetty Osman's not the answer. Like
Jetty Osman's not the answer.
The most important position on the floor.
He's got great hair.
Cavs have zero, and they are loaded up with small guards and big centers, and that's a problem.
Jared Watson, what did I think about Chetty Osman 3 years ago?
I don't want to talk about it. We used to talk. Hayden Grove was all in on Chetty forever. I love Hayden, but no.
All right.
Hey, listen, I think we spend way too much time talking about the Cavs on NFL Draft Night 2, where the Cleveland Browns have moved up.
Never talk enough Cavs.
And made a selection to grab Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah and still maintain the full number of picks that they came in. Jason Lloyd helped us break that news earlier. Thanks so much to Jason Lloyd for coming and doing this show with us this evening here at Forrest City Brewery. Holly Wetzel. Finally, we got to hang out in person and meet.
In person than he is on camera. He's on these photos.
He doesn't need filters.
He's got
great. He doesn't need them.
He's got great hair.
Oh, Jason.
Great hair.
Jason doesn't need filters.
Oh, Jason needs filters. Believe me.
I think
Thanks for sharing a milkshake with me tonight.
Hey,
Lloyd.
anytime.
And
what a great date you are, Wetzel. You are charming.
Folks, I just got to tell you that the opportunity to finally get out and do something like this in the city of Cleveland and to get out last night like everyone did, as shitty as the weather was, which how beautiful is that the worst part of the evening was just the weather, because everything else was absolutely perfect. Andy and I and Holly also, we were down at the dive bar. We had a great time. Thanks to the dive bar for all their
Forrest
great drinks and hospitality and all that. Melt was great. Oh, the food. It's all these great things that we have missed for so long, that we were able to come and do this together. And I'm just very appreciative of it. Forrest City Brewery for hosting us this evening. Man, I'm going to have to take a couple growlers home. I think that's how that's going to go. Any last parting thoughts? Everybody?
Browns are going to Super Bowl. I got to go pee right now.
Yeah. Andy's going to go walk away. Go ahead and go pee.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining us.
See, I think that's the thing. Everybody, we've had enough beer that we all have to go to the bathroom. So that's how we're ending the evening.
Wait, I got more. Produce one final four.
He's still muted. He's doing it again.
Probably not. Purdue's going to the Final Four.
Nobody cares.
Purdue's got Travion Williams, Zach Edey. They're going really big places. You don't even understand.
Put that on
good Purdue's going to be in basketball.
Why don't you put Purdue on your Tinder profile?
Brian Windhurst and I talked about this the other day. He agreed. Purdue's going to be very, very, very good in basketball.
Okay, congratulations.
Okay.
Brian Windhurst, I love you.
Once again, we are brought to you by.
Thank you to Chris
good.
Jason Lloyd, Tom Rinaldi.
We are brought to you. I've said it 5 times. By Waiting for Next Year. Check them out. Waiting for Next Year, original Cleveland sports reporting at waitingfornextyear.com. Also, Evergreen Podcasts. Make sure you check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/Cleveland and Beyond, on Twitter @CLE and Beyond. And you'll find Cleveland and Beyond wherever podcasts are found. Oh, don't forget where we're always hanging out live at Official Cleveland Sports on
Thank you, Jason Kipnis, Roberto Perez, liking our videos. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, Mr. Teller's wife as well.
Mr. Teller's wife.
Yeah,
Very nice.
yeah, we appreciate all the follows.
It's because of Jason Lloyd we have these contacts. God bless.
All right, guys, take care. Have a great night. Go Browns.
Cleveland and Beyond with Andy and Jared is a part of Evergreen Podcast. You can follow them on Facebook at facebook.com/Cleveland and Beyond, on Twitter at CLE and Beyond, or shoot them an email at andyandjared@gmail.com. And don't forget to visit the website, clevelandandbeyond.com.